Hello everybody and welcome to niXtreme. Do you suffer from Joycon drift? If so, this is the video for you. Let's check it out. Hello everybody, welcome back. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below and let's jump in. Okay, so today on the channel we are going to be repairing Joycon drift. Now Joycon drift, what it is when you have your analog stick on your Joycon to the neutral position, but your character is still moving in the game. This is an issue I've been having. These are the Joycons that came with my system when I got it on launch day almost 4 years ago, and so these ones have been worn out. What it is as the plastic rubs in the joystick, it builds up and then it screws it up a little. So I've seen videos where people can go in and clean it, but it is actually quite easy just to get the part and replace the stick. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be replacing the analog stick in the Joycon with a replacement part. So let's jump in. Okay, so here is our Joycon. This is one of the, like I said, it's one of my ones I got with the launch of the system. And we are going to open it up and we're going to take it apart. So what you're going to need here is a tri-tip screwdriver. I do not need it for mine because I do have a couple tri-tip screws in this one, so I'll have to open it up with those. And you're gonna need a tiny Phillips head screwdriver. So let's start up with that. So I just gotta have I have a mishmash of screws in this one. It looks like, so because I think when I changed the housing I stripped a bunch of the screws, so I had to use what I had laying around. So this one is a tri-tip here. Okay, and looks like my other two on here. Phillips, yours, if you have just the regular Joycon, never been modded at all, you're just gonna have the straight up tri-tips on there just to open it up anyways, and then everything on the inside uses a Phillips head. The problem with these tiny screws, they strip real easy. This one's a little bit stripped from what I was using before, so it was quite difficulty on the screw, but we eventually got it by putting a lot of pressure in. Okay, so those are all out. Now we can pry it open. Just be careful, everything's sensitive with these things. There's a lot of technology crammed in them. And the last thing you want to do is damage it. Okay, so we can lift this open like that. The rail and the top will come off. Okay, so next things next, we're gonna disconnect our battery, and you're just gonna go in here with your tweezers and you are going to pull out the battery cable. This just pops out. This is pretty easy to remove, so that just comes out like that. So we can put this over here, get out of the way. Okay, and then we are going to need our Phillips head screwdriver again. And what we're going to do here is we're going to remove these these two screws. I thought there was another one somewhere. Okay, well, we'll remove the two and see what happens anyways. Or there's one, should be another one here. No, that's the main pillar. Okay, let's take the one out and see what happens. The other one's underneath the trigger, which those are annoying to put back in and take out, so we'll see how this goes. We'll take this guy out. Always keep your screws separate, it makes your life a little bit easier from each other. This way you don't get the lengths mixed up. So we might have to take out the buttons. And then the springs come out. So it looks like the left Joy-Con is more difficult to take out than the right Joy-Con. Because the right Joy-Con is way easier to get to the stick than the left seems to be. So I'll take out this screw here. It seems to be holding on a button here. Actually, let's put this back in. Maybe this is the one we gotta take out. This one looks like it might be attaching the thing on here. I might have taken the trigger button out a little bit prematurely, which is bad because that is a tough cookie to put back in. That is indeed the case. Okay, what else is holding it in? So I took it out prematurely. You do not need to take out the trigger button because that is a tough cookie to get back in, so we're going to be paying for that later, that's for sure. So it looks like you just got to take out this one, and this one. And it looks like it lifts off. Oh, looks like the shoulder button came off too. So like I said, those are a lot of trouble to put back in. So we're going to have probably a rough time with those. Okay, so that comes off like that. I don't like how this ribbon cable is. It kind of folds itself. It's not cool. So this thing, everything's a little bit tightly wound and put in. Like I said, to do this on the right Joy-Con is significantly easier than this Joy-Con. So what we're going to have to do next is we're going to have to pop up this ribbon cable holder here. Pull out this ribbon cable so this way we can get access to the screw. And we're going to have to open this ribbon cable holder up here so we can actually get the analog sticks ribbon cable out. So let's unscrew these two things here. And then this one here. Now, when you're ordering the Joy-Con analog stick online, it is not a huge deal because both the right and left Joy-Con use the same part. When I first did this, I was unsure because when I first did this, they actually did not sell the spare joysticks yet, so I actually had to buy an extra Joy-Con to get the stick out. So here's the stick here, and we're gonna put it in our spare. You can see they're a little bit different. Let me see if I can get them in the frame here. The one that came in it is blue, and the new one is green that we're going to be putting in. So let's slide it in here. I find with these things, I want to take as little things apart as possible because they are a little bit crazy to put back together. Like I said, everything is tricky in this thing. Okay, so now we got it in place. We can screw it back in. I highly suggest getting a magnetized screwdriver. It'll make your life significantly easier. That is for sure. And I always suggest putting in the easier screws first before you put in the more tricky ones. So in this case, this is the easier one. Sometimes you may not want to screw it in all the way, just in case. And then you, like I said, use your magnetized screwdriver. It makes it way easier for picking up the screws. Like I said, it's way easier to do this on the right Joy-Con than the left. You gotta take way less stuff out on the right. Okay, now I can go back and tighten the other one. So now my new joystick is in place. Now we gotta put this guy back together, which is the next tricky thing. Now we can start placing our ribbon cables back in. As I said, tweezers make your life a lot easier if you got them. If you had to do this by hand, I had no idea how you would do it. So we'll start with this ribbon cable. We're gonna slide it in. Also be careful not to damage the ribbon cables because they are sensitive. Okay, Okay, let's close it up. And just push the switch down to lock it in place. Like that. Okay, so that our analog ribbon cable is now locked in. And we can take this button ribbon cable and slide that in too. It's funny, they got all these switches for the ribbon cables and they're not all the same type of switch. Some of them are different than others. There we go, so that's in. Okay, so now we can start working on putting our buttons back in. So this is going to be tricky because this is probably the trickiest part of putting this fellow together. So we're going to start with the shoulder button here. And the spring you're going to line up to this little fella here. Like that. Now, with these third-party shells, they're not built very good. So you may have a little bit more trouble lining things up because a lot of the areas aren't cast very good. So let's put our screws back in and hope that we did this right, because I do not want to take this apart again. And unfortunately, there's no way of knowing it works until you put it all back together. Okay, so those are in. Now, this is the trickiest part of putting this together, is putting back in the shoulder button, the trigger button here. This is super tricky because there's two springs in which you have to stand up. Mine just happened to roll into each other. There we go. Inside of here, and there's little dots where you got to stand them up and then place in the trigger button here. So this is probably the trickiest thing to get back in. This might take you a while. It took me a while the first time I had to do it. It'll probably take me a while now, because there's two little dots on top of this as well. Oops. There's two little dots on top of this as well that you have to line those up with, and springs aren't the best thing for lining things up with gravity. So we'll try our best here. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get it on our first shot. My hands are also kind of large, so it's hard for me to hold these tiny parts. Oh, looks like I got it. Nice. Don't touch it. Yeah, it looks like I got it. Good. So how it works is the springs push it up, and then the button is actually down as opposed to sideways. So that's how that works anyways. And now the last part to put back in is the battery, which is usually not too bad of a time to put back in. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it goes well. And we don't want to disturb our Joycon too much, because I don't want that shoulder button to pop back out. Because I feel like I got lucky there that I got it in that easy. And this, you just kind of want to place it in place and just push it down the battery. Pretty simple to put the battery in. So that's it for that, and now we can fold our Joycon back up. I should have put aside that strip screw, but I didn't. So let's bring our rail back over and we'll slide it on. Just like that. And everything fits, surprisingly. Okay, let's put some screws back in. Let's start with this guy up here, I guess. This is my tri-tip screw. This is probably the easier one to put in because this is a Nintendo part. But nothing is easy with these third-party housings, that's for sure. Like I said, they aren't made great. I'm almost actually tempted to put my original gray housings back in, to be honest. It's just so much work to do it. probably better I put, you know, the first screw in by the, like I said, by the trigger to make sure it's good. So far that's good. You know what, before I put these next two in, maybe I will test out the stick to make sure it actually works. Just gotta grab my switch. Okay. Alright, looks like we got a working analog stick. Works good. I'll bring this in frame so you can see. See? Looks like it's working. Now let's open up a game. And let's see if it's drifting. Looks like there is no more Joy-Con drift. My character is no longer spinning. There you go. Works perfect. Alright, I guess I can put the rest of those screws back in and then we'll pack it up. Well, everybody, thanks for checking out this Joy-Con repair. We did do a couple of unnecessary steps because I was doing this by memory. And I missed that I did not need to take off the shoulder button, but luckily it was easier to put back in than it was the time I did it before, because it is a tricky thing to get that shoulder button back in, so I do recommend you don't take it out unless you have to. Thanks for checking out the channel. Share it to your friends if they have a Joy-Con issue. Like I said, the analog sticks are dirt cheap. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on eBay, very easy to find. So we'll see you later.